Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the promotion ceremony in honor of Colonel Jason Williams, who today is officially being promoted to the rank of Brigadier General. Officiating today's ceremony is the former commander of United States Africa Command, General Retired Stephen Townson. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise for the national anthem and followed by the invocation delivered by Chaplain Turpin.
Please join me in prayer. Gracious and almighty God, as we gather here today among such a great cloud of witnesses, we ask for your blessing on today's ceremony. We come today in a spirit of gratitude, rejoicing and reverence as we celebrate the well-deserved promotion of Colonel Jason Williams to the rank of Brigadier General. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for the character, dedication, selfless service, and leadership that has marked Colonel Williams' life and career. Today, as Colonel Williams takes on even greater responsibilities of leadership and selfless service, I simply pray that you would bless him, his wife Shelley, and his 3 daughters in every possible, conceivable way. Finally, I pray that we would all live each day in a manner worthy of those who have gone before us, and for the sake of those who will follow. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have gathered to honor Colonel Jason Williams as he is promoted to the rank of Brigadier General. We would like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guests in attendance today. Commander Joint Special Operations Command Vice Admiral Frank Bradley with his wife Katie. Commanding General representing the Deputy Commanding General, the United States Army Forces Command, Lieutenant General Stephen Smith is his wife Lynn. Deputy Commanding General 18th Airborne Corps, Major General Colin Tooley. Let us also welcome all of our special guests to include leaders from the 82nd Airborne Division who are here with us today. And we would also like to welcome guests of the official party. Accompanying our presiding official, General Townson, is his wife, Melissa. Accompanying Colonel Williams is his wife, Shelley, and his 3 daughters, Anna Lee, Emma Kate, and Caroline. His parents, younger brother, in-laws, and too many other family and friends to list. Thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, the 82nd Airborne Division Band will now perform America the Beautiful.
For spacious skies, for amber waves of rain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plains. God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Whoa, America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our host and today's officiating officer, General Stephen J. Townson.
Good afternoon. Okay. Good afternoon, Airborne. Okay, General Williams, soon to be. I got to just make a correction here. TOT, P hour, plus or minus 30 seconds, not 30 minutes. The truth is, we were waiting on some family members who started out at Ozark early from Georgia this morning. Had car trouble, got turned around. If they were like us, they got stuck. Some of you maybe got stuck at the front gate. There was some drama at the front gate. There was hundreds of cars in a parking lot. When they finally came out and started turning us around, the barriers went up and they couldn't get them back down. I was glad we made it on time. Glad y'all are all here. Welcome to everybody. I don't really think I'm the host. I actually think All-American 6 in absentia. Deployed, returning actually from theater right now, is the All-American Division's our host, and I'm just happy to be here with all of y'all. It's a beautiful day for a ceremony. A little bit of clouds, not too hot. Fort Bragg can be a lot more brutal than this, and I'm glad it's not. It's also good to be back home here at the mothership, where so many of us got our start in the Army, or if we didn't get our start, in many units, in many ways, we found our military purpose here at Fort Liberty. I want to thank All-American 6 for allowing me to do this gentle work. When Jason first asked me, you will remember a few short months ago there was a lot of drama with nominations in Congress and whatnot, and we weren't really sure when this was going to occur, if it was going to occur, when it was going to occur. And it was kind of hard to pin down. And then once the nominations got moving, then fixing the date was also sort of a moving target. So it was just really hard for General Work to organize that, and he very graciously agreed to let me do it, and I'm very pleased and thank him for that. So you've heard the list of everybody who's here, and there is a platoon minus of Williams extended family here from Georgia. Shelley, who's been his sweetheart since college more than 25 years ago, and those three beautiful daughters. The parents that are here. One of his brothers here, his older brother couldn't make it. All those extended family members. There's also some, and you'll get to meet these folks in the ceremony here in a few minutes, some really kind of special people that all officers will instantly know what I'm talking about. Some non-commissioned officers from key points in Jason's career are here. And so his first platoon sergeant is here. Now just think back how many years ago that's been. His first platoon sergeant is here to help him pin on. It's been a long time, Sergeant Major Fleek, a long time. Sergeant Major Fleek is his name. You'll get to meet him in a few minutes. His first sergeant Daniels, is also here when he was a battery commander, and his DeVarty Sergeant Major is here. And they're all going to have a role in the ceremony here. So I think that is really special, and I think that is our first little bit of insight that I'm going to share with you about the quality of the officer here we're recognizing today. All the general officers and admirals that are here have been listed already. I'm not going to repeat all that list. I do want to especially recognize Vice Admiral Bradley, Tom Jasock, who's here with his wife Katie. I first met Mitch during the course of the war some years ago. Then he did a stint working for this guy y'all may have heard of named General Dunford. And that's where he and Jason worked pretty closely together, side by side, supporting our chairman of the Joint Chiefs. It's good to see you, Mitch. I'm glad you're here today. That also says something about this officer that we're promoting today. Then, where is the North Georgia contingent? You guys are sounding kind of weak back there. Probably a little too much to drink last night. That's what I'm doing. So the North Georgia folks here are, there's a bunch of them here, and they're led by the new president there, Dr. Mike Shannon. Hold up your hand, Mike. Mike is a Army alum himself. He has recently been selected by the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia to be the president of the University of North Georgia. It was North Georgia College when I went there and when Jason was there, but it's the University of North Georgia now, and I think the president of the university showing up here several states away for a promotion of an officer says something about the importance of ROTC at that university and the Corps of Cadets at that university. I think Dr. Shannon is the man for the moment to lead that university to a whole new level, producing officers for our Army. And then the rest of the contingent, I met a bunch of them last night. They're classmates of Jason's, and I think most of them came here mostly out of curiosity. I think that if you look at the statistics, it's pretty rare that individual gets selected for flag officer rank in the first place, and they went to school with Jason and know him just about better than any of us here, so I'm pretty sure they're here out of curiosity. So it was the mid-1990s, and Jason left Douglasville, Georgia, and made his way to North Georgia College, where he graduated in 1998 as a second lieutenant of field artillery. And he went to his first duty station, a great place to start in our Army, a historic, a legendary unit, the 3rd Cavalry Regiment. He went at Fort Carson, Colorado, also not a bad gig for a new lieutenant to go to Fort Carson, Colorado. He did all the lieutenant jobs a young artilleryman would do there. He started out as a troop fire support officer, exactly where he should be. And then he got a unique opportunity. They were getting ready to go to Bosnia. They consolidated mortars into a mortar platoon, and they put a young artilleryman in charge of it. And that's where he made his first foray sort of into the infantry world there, with a bunch of 11 Charlies led by platoon sergeant, then platoon sergeant Fleet. He led the mortar platoon to Bosnia, came back and was a howitzer battery platoon leader, and then also a firing battery XO. Just what our artillery lieutenant should be. Went to infantry captain's career course, which I think is also pretty unique in his background. He learned about combined arms there, I think. Then to Fort Liberty, then known as Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Perfect place for a young officer to come as a young captain, hungry for a company command. Came here, he was assigned to 18th, either Field Artillery Brigade, Corps Artillery, or Fires Brigade, depending on when you were here. That plane has had a bunch of different names, but it's still the same outfit. And they shoot the big guns for the 18th Airborne Corps. And while he was there, he would get some staff time. He was selected for Battery Command, Charlie Battery, 1st of 321 FA, and that's where he met First Sergeant Daniels, who we're going to meet here in a little bit. First Sergeant Daniels told me that he was a good battery commander, not too much of a burden, is what he said. I may be putting words in his mouth a little bit. He did a little time in the fire cell at 18th Corps, then off to Leavenworth, where majors go for schooling, and he did CGSE out there. He stayed an extra year and did that SAMS course out there. It's a planner's course, and that's where they teach to think big thoughts, and they send you back to units to be planners. That's what he did. He came back here. Somehow he worked a deal to come right back here to Bragg, where he was the planner on the staff of the 82nd Airborne Division, working for a guy, some of you may have heard this cat, Scaparotti's his name, All-American 6, and a great officer that I admire a lot. That's where I first met Jason. They were serving in RC East in Afghanistan, and the schedule had the 101st Air Assault Division, which I was a part of, replacing the 82nd Airborne Division in RC East in the spring of 2010. And so I was a DCG at the 101st then, And I was making my way overseas to do a leader's reconnaissance before the deployment. And they had assigned a really sharp young officer from the 82nd staff to be my escort. But he couldn't do it, so they assigned Jason to pick the ball up. So Jason showed me, escorted me around. I don't think we got into too much trouble. Maybe got shot at once or twice during that leader's recon. It was eye-opening what was happening in Afghanistan at that time. And that was probably one of the most professional reliefs in place I ever participated in. In fact, that was the standard that I told my staffs at every relief in place the rest of the war after that. We're going to do what I saw done between the 82nd and my division in RCEs. That's the way we're going to run reliefs in place. Very professional. He came back from that deployment. He became a 3 in an XO, exactly what every artillery major wants to do in an airborne artillery battalion here in the division, and finished up back at 18th Fires Brigade, then selected for battalion command. So he commanded the Swift and Bold Centaurs of 3-6 FA of the 10th Mountain Division, 1st Brigade, working for Mark O'Donnell, who I see back there. Mark O'Donnell was the brigade commander at the time, and Jason commanded the artillery battalion of that brigade combat team. And that's where we met Shelley, and I'll talk more about her in a minute, but division commanders observe, assess, and evaluate their battalion commanders. They put a great deal of thought into that, because when you look at the hierarchy and the wickets, the funnels you have to go through, from lieutenant colonel to battalion command to colonel and brigade command, that's a really small window to thread. And so Jason stood out as a battalion commander. And the division commanders that I know put a lot of thought into that, because you're picking the future colonels, for sure. You're picking future brigade commanders, 06 commanders, and you're picking probably a good number of them general officers. If they don't make it through those wickets, they're not going to be a flag officer in the Army. So Jason really stood out. He got assigned next to the Joint Staff, and I had done joint duty earlier in my career, and he asked me before he reported in to the Joint Staff what to expect. And you know, he told me he was going to some job in some basement in the Pentagon in J8 or something like that. And I said, don't worry about that. Just go do whatever they tell you to do, but be ready. Because talent has a way of emerging, and people will spot it. And you don't be surprised if you don't stay in that job very long. Wasn't that long later that I was hearing through the grapevine that he was a nominee to be the Deputy Executive Officer for the Chairman of Joint Chiefs, General Dunford. And that selection process, I don't know how the selection process played out exactly, but I do know that I managed to help General Dunford in an earlier stage of his career find some good quality Army officers for his staff when he was going to Afghanistan. And so he knew that I wouldn't steer him wrong. I shot him a note and said, hey boss, there's an officer buried in the basement of the Pentagon somewhere, Jason Williams, look him up. Deputy XO working there with Mitch Bradley and working on really hard stuff. And if you can just imagine one of the most demanding jobs you've ever had, now times that times 2 or 3 or 5, that's the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs job. I watched it up close and personal a couple of times, and that's really demanding work. And so Jason was there and helped out Mitch and General Dunford. He was selected then to go to Senior Service College, and then Colonel, and then Brigade Command. And he went back to Fort Drum to the 10th Mountain Division, where he commanded the 10th Division Artillery. Division commanders get to pick a few folks. They get to pick their sergeant major usually, they get to pick their G3, their operations officer usually, and they get to pick their chief of staff. And the division commander there picked Jason to be his chief of staff. In fact, he did both jobs for a while. He needed a chief of staff now, but Jason was still in brigade command. Jason did both those jobs for a little while before he became the chief of staff for the 10th Mountain Division. And that's where he was. And I was in Germany, in Stuttgart, Germany, at AFRICOM. And my XO was another Jason. Some of y'all may know this guy, Jason Slider. Jason Slider is soon to leave his posting with the 3rd French Division and come back here to Fort Liberty. And Jason just come out on the Army Brigadier General list, and I was looking for an XO. And he comes in one day with some packets. My J1 comes in with some packets, puts them down on the desk, and I looked at the little names on the front of the packets. Colonel Jason Williams, took him out and visited. Don't need to do any, hand the packets back to the J1. Don't do any interviews. Hire that officer right there. I know exactly who that is and what I'm getting. So there was a phone call there. Hey, I can only really guarantee maybe a year. You want to come to Germany for a year? And he said, let me ask Shelley. They agreed to come to Germany for a year. That was one heck of a year. If you've ever served at AFRICOM, you never know what you're waking up to every morning. But there's probably a coup or a civil war or a natural disaster, an assassination or a locust plague or something that's going to be in the news that morning. It was an interesting place to work. If they ever offer you orders to go there, take it. You'll enjoy it. So then, about a year later, I'm leaving, about to retire, and he has brought his whole family to Germany, and they've only been there not even quite a year yet. And so I needed to find him a job. Wasn't that hard. I called a guy, some of y'all may know, guy Cavoli. Cavoli was my Army component commander at the time. He's now stacked Europe, but he was looking for an XO, and I said, hey, Jason Williams is available. He said, I'll take it. It was that easy. And off he went to Wiesbaden. So after less than a year, I think, maybe barely a year at Stuttgart, bag and baggage moved to Wiesbaden and worked there until he came here. So that brings us sort of here to the ceremony today. Before I come back to Jason, let me talk about Shelley for a moment. If you look up the definition of Army spouse or military spouse in the dictionary, there's probably a picture of Shelley Williams there. She is what we all hope Army spouses will be, military spouses will be. I think our services, we only really can expect one thing, that a spouse takes care of their service member and their family. That's it. But there are spouses, we get lucky every now and then, there are spouses who want to do more. They want to help at the unit, right? So they get involved with family readiness group stuff at the unit, helping the spouses at the unit. Then we get even luckier, and they want to help with things on the base, sometimes even in the community off base. That's Shelley Williams. So she's done a great job taking care of her soldier. She's done a great job taking care of her family, and she's done a great job taking care of the larger military community that we live in. Shelley, I'm a big fan of yours. You're a hell of a trooper, too, for moving your family all over the place. And your daughters are great sports for putting up with all that. So now back to the officer. I'll conclude here with this. Jason is a great officer. As I've sort of attested to here, it's sort of the evidence is apparent. He's a good advisor. He did a great job for me as XO. He reminded me of one story. We went to this thing once called the Munich Security Conference. All the poobahs of national security and foreign relations once a year go to Munich, Germany for this thing called the Munich Security Conference. And I was at that thing. And I had been invited to participate in a panel on climate change. And they wanted me to talk about how climate change might affect security in Africa. So I could see there was a security angle there, but I didn't know that much about climate change. And so I looked at Jason. I said, Jason, what do you think? Should I do this? I said, I'm not really digging it, but should I do it anyway? He says, sir, you should absolutely not do it. And I said, why is that? He says, because these people on this panel, he says, I've been flipping through their bios in this booklet. They're all real climate change experts. And then they're going to get to you, and you're going to say, well, we got solar panels on the roof of the headquarters. I took his advice, and I withdrew from the panel. He's also a superb leader. Now, I'm going to double back to those NCOs here. How many, y'all know NCOs. Everybody standing here knows whether they're privates, or they're officers, or they're sergeants. Everybody here knows NCOs. How many NCOs would go willingly travel hundreds of miles to attend a ceremony for an officer They didn't think like that. We got an NCO here who knew this officer as a lieutenant and traveled here for this. Another who knew him as a captain and traveled here for this. Another who knew him as a commander and traveled here for this. I just think there's the evidence right there of what kind of leader this is. And I've seen it with my own eyes. Even when he was in staff roles, every officer's a leader, even when they're not a commander. I've seen it with this officer here. And then I'd say, why is he a good officer and why is he a good leader? It's because he's a good man. And I can't think of any higher praise or offer any higher praise to anybody that I know other than to say they're a good man. So that's who the officer we're promoting here today. And Jason, I'm very pleased that you asked me to promote. And I would say, here's the next thing, but I've forgotten what the next thing is. So I'm counting on the narrator to bail me out. My remarks are complete. Next.
Thank you, General Townson. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Colonel Williams to the podium. To begin, Colonel Williams' branch insignia will be removed. We now ask Command Sergeant Major retired Miguel Quiros, Colonel Williams' former DeVarty Command Sergeant Major, to please come forward. Thank you, Command Sergeant Major Quiros. We now ask Colonel Williams' family to please come forward for the reading of the promotion order and the pinning of the 1-star rank. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated for the publishing of the order. Attention to orders. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Jason Williams. In view of these qualities and his demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, he is therefore authorized and directed to wear the uniform and 1-star insignia of a Brigadier General by the authority of the Secretary of Defense.
Tell us an Army spouse, she says, I don't want to drop a damn it. That's why they're called that. Because right when you need to get it on there, you drop it and you can't find it on the floor. That's what you say. all put back together. All right, photographer, get up there. Family part over there.
Thank you, Williams family. It has become oath of office upon promotion.
Okay, I'm going to talk about this for just a second. So, when I was a lieutenant a few years ago, it was not a requirement to recite your oath, except once. If you're a regular Army officer, upon commission, you recited your oath. You didn't have to do it again. It always seemed a little odd to me because every time an enlisted member entered a contract and started a new contract, they had to recite their oath all over again. Somewhere along the line, I came upon a commander who started having officers recite their oath at their promotions, which I thought was a good way to go, and I've been emulating that ever since. Turns out now, later, that sort of spread across the Army. Still don't know if it's official Army policy now or not, but pretty much everywhere you go, you see officers who recite their oath with each promotion, and I think that's right. There are a few words that you swear upon for life, even the cost of your life. And marriage vows are one of them, but the oath of office is certainly those words. I think they bear repeating key events like re-enlistments, like promotion, and you should really listen to those words about what a soldier, a service member said with their oath of office. They're the same for all the service members. And I think another point about our oath of office is an American service member does not swear an oath not to a king or a queen or a president or a flag. You swear an oath to a set of ideals that are enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. And we swear to those ideals, to uphold those ideals at the very cost of our life. Every U.S. service member takes that. So it's worth reflecting on. All right. Stand over here. Raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Now please rise for you. Jump together. I state your full name.
I, Jason Williams,
Having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States.
having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States,
In the grade of Brigadier General.
in the grade of Brigadier General,
Do solemnly reaffirm
do solemnly reaffirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same.
and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely
Take this obligation freely,
without mental reservation
without mental reservation,
or purpose of evasion.
purpose of evasion,
That I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
on which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, General.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The history of the General Officer's Belt dates back to World War II. Army Chief of Staff General George C. Marshall directed that the belt be issued to all general officers. The thick leather belt with an 18-karat gold-plated buckle and imprint of an eagle was first produced in 1944. In 1956, the color was changed from brown to its current color, black. Today, the occasion and uniform with which the belt is worn are the decision of the general officer. Presenting Brigadier General Williams with his belt is his former platoon sergeant, Command Sergeant Major, retired Victor Fleek. From the American Revolution through World War I, general officers were required to furnish their own sidearms at personal expense. Beginning in 1943, the United States Army began issuing general officers sidearms. The first pistol issued to general officers was the Colt 1908. Today, general officers are issued the M18. Each M18 has a unique serial number beginning with GO. Under Title 10, Section 2574 of the United States Code, general officers are able to purchase their assigned pistol when they retire. Presenting Brigadier General Williams with his pistol is First Sergeant retired George Daniels, his former Battery First Sergeant. As with military history and tradition, the general officer flag is to be displayed at all times in the respective general's office. In addition, it will be displayed at ceremonies in which the general officer is a participant, from buildings, vehicles, and ships when the general officer is present. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated for the general officer flag presentation. We now welcome again Command Sergeants Major retired Kiros and Fleek and First Sergeant Daniels, who will assist in unfurling Brigadier General Williams' General Officer Flag.
Now you can.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the rendering of honors.
Cannons will be fired.
Please be seated. At this time, Captain Aaron Palmer, Commander Bravo Battery 2319, will now present Brigadier General Williams with an artillery shell to serve as a reminder of today's ceremony. Brigadier General Williams will now present tokens of appreciation to his wife Shelley and their daughters Anna Lee, Emma Kate, and Caroline to remember this important day. At this time, we ask Command Sergeant Major Kiros, Command Sergeant Major Fleek, and First Sergeant Daniels to please come forward as Brigadier General Williams presents tokens of appreciation to each of you in recognition of your influence on him and participation in today's ceremony.
We need to rehearse this. You're trying your best to make me cry. Photographer, picture.
And finally, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce the Army's newest Brigadier General, Jason Todd Williams.
Thank you very much. What a day, right? Beautiful day out here.
Welcome to the fellow general and flag officers and the commanders and command sergeants major from across the installation. I know all y'all are incredibly busy, and I truly appreciate your presence today, especially knowing we had a little bit of a delayed start, and so I appreciate y'all hanging out and hanging on with us for a little bit. Thanks to the band, 2nd 319, the protocol team, and everyone who had a hand putting this ceremony together. You all went above and beyond, and I'm appreciative of it. I hope y'all enjoyed the band as much as I did. I'm a huge fan of our rock band, of the band and the rock band component. Appreciate y'all being here. It's also super cool to have my former battalion, 2nd 319, be here to fire the salute today. Thanks to General Townson for his kind words. So thank you to you and Melissa for making the trip down from Pennsylvania. Between my schedule, our daughter's schedules, your schedule, and All-American Week, we had to thread a needle to select the date that was doable for everyone. Thank you again for being willing to use one of your days to come down and do this for me. As you said, we met 15 years ago in Afghanistan when you were a one-star DCG in the 101st, and I was a major here on the division staff. I knew you by reputation before we met, and came to look up to you as I traveled around with you that week during the PDSS. I've tried to be like you ever since. You were my division commander when I was a battalion commander, and serving as your XO during your final year in command of AFRICOM remain two of the highlights of my career. You are a mentor, and more importantly, you are a friend, wearing stars that were once yours. And your participation today are especially meaningful. Thank you, sir. Unfortunately, while we were able to get most everyone here, there are a few missing. Shelley and I are especially bummed my older brother Jimmy and his wife Monique couldn't be here. And we regret Major General Work and Mara are not here as well. As General Townson said earlier, General Work's flying back now from Europe. We look forward to having him here next week for All-American Week. I'm going to be real candid with y'all. I wrote these remarks as a way of keeping myself on track. I have attempted to walk the fine line between providing meaningful remarks and going down a path that is so deeply personal that I'm unable to finish. For those of you who know me well, I know you understand. There are people here from every segment of my life. Frankly, it's a bit overwhelming. My parents, Randy and Barbara Williams, are here. So is my younger brother, Jeff. My aunt and uncle, Beth and Chuck. Their daughters, my cousins, Jenny and Amy, made the trip all the way from Georgia. Shelley's mom and dad, Sandra and Alvin Graves, are here too. Alvin and Sandra, thank you so much for the way you've always been so good to Shelley and I. Shelley's aunt, Pat Yeomans, and our nephew, Sam Hampton, are also here. Sandra and Pat have been a big help to Shelley this week. My nephew, Sam, goes to University of Miami. He's on an ROTC scholarship. For all those guys in North Georgia in the back, if you get a chance to talk to him later on about that, I sure would appreciate it. That's your AO. Our family from down near Columbus, Chuck and Delana Jenkins, and one of their daughters, Mary Beth, are here. Chuck and Delana are brand new grandparents. Appreciate y'all coming up. Shelly's cousin Tommy and his wife Cheryl are here from Georgia too. Bill and Linda Cantrell also made the trip for longer than Shelly and I have been together. Bill and Linda have been the kind of friends that are more like family. My childhood friend David Stagner drove down from Canada yesterday. That's fitting. All right. I appreciate these guys. So cool you did that for me. Like I said, my childhood friend David Stagner drove down from Canada yesterday. I spent so much time at David's house growing up, his mom Linda became a second mom to me. When you see that meme now that talks about how kids today won't understand what it was like to rent a video game and staying up all night trying to beat it, that was me and David in our quest to beat Contra. David and I also drank a lot of driveway beers. I normally would not say that in front of my mom, but I think after 30 years, that statute of limitations is over for that crime. Thanks for being here, David. My friend Cleet Holmes is here too. Cleet drove in from the other side of Atlanta. Cleet and I played baseball together from the time we were 6 until we graduated high school. Our senior year, when I hit the only home run of my high school career, it was Cleet that met me as I ran to third base. It was like that scene when Bill Mazeroski is mobbed by his teammates as he comes around third base in the 1960 World Series. I remember laughingly shrugging him off and reminding him it was only second inning. Neither of us were laughing an inning later when I got picked off first base because Cleet was talking to me from the dugout. As I recall, we won that game 11-10. Our high school baseball coach, Rick Blackstone, and his wife, Mitzi, who was also one of our high school teachers, drove in from Georgia as well. You could have been the best ball player in Alexander High School, but if you were a discipline problem in the classroom, you were not going to play for Coach Blackstone. Because of my raising, I had no problem playing in that system. Coach, thanks for coming today. I enjoyed playing for you all those years ago, and I've truly enjoyed introducing you to my family. The North Georgia Mafia is here. These guys traveled in from Colorado, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. If they tell you anything about me that happened before I met Shelly in 1996, it is almost certainly not true. Unless it is about my lack of academic prowess, and then unfortunately that part is very true. Our university president, Dr. Mike Shannon, came here from Dahlonega, sir. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all you're doing for the Corps and the university. Unfortunately, Major General Joe Girard and Susan were unable to get here today from D.C., but for those of you who know me, you know Major General Girard was a captain at North Georgia when I was a cadet, and Shelly used to babysit their boys. General Girard commissioned me, promoted me to major, and pinned on my Ranger tab. General Girard and Susan are mentors and dear friends to Shelly and I. Sir, Susan, I hope you get to watch this later. You were truly missed today. It is impossible to overstate the importance of North Georgia on my development and the officer I became. I arrived there with the necessary tools and traits, but it was North Georgia and these guys sitting right over there who brought out the best in me and set me on my way. Thanks again for being here, gentlemen. My platoon sergeant, Sergeant Major Fleek and his wife Kathleen are here from Kentucky. Sergeant Major Fleek, who I call Pops, because when he was my platoon sergeant, he was the ripe old age of 35. Sergeant Major Fleek built the frame on the foundation that was established in North Georgia before I became an officer. Pops and Kathleen also hosted Shelly and I in their home during our first Thanksgiving together. They were also our first guests at our first house on post. Pops, thanks for being here and participating in this ceremony. It means more to me than you'll know. My battery commander from when I was a lieutenant, Dave Navratil, is here too. I didn't realize it back then, but then Captain Navratil was mature and balanced, well beyond what should have been expected of a captain and what I would describe as a difficult environment. Thanks for being here, sir. Our friends from the Infantry Captain's Career Course, Kevin and Emily O'Connor, made the trip up from Camp Lejeune. When I arrived at the career course, I was still developing who I would become as an officer, and it was the influence of guys like Kevin and a couple of other guys in our small group that prepared me for my first airborne assignment. Kevin and Emily, thanks for coming. Not here today, but I want to especially make mention of Bob Morshauser. Colonel Morshauser was my Brigade S3 when I first arrived here 22 years ago. I knew the day we met he was exceptional, and I wanted to try to live up to the expectations he had of me. Colonel Morshauser and his wife, Marlene, remain dear friends to Shelly and me all these years later, and I continue to try to live up to his example. My Brigade XO, Tom Janaszek, Made the trip up from Georgia. The Friday before I reported to Jump Master School on Monday, Tom told me he didn't care what the brigade commander had told me. If I was not a first-time go at Jump Master School, I was going to the Rocket Battalion. Sir, I continue to live by your sage advice. If you're going to be a bear, be a big bear. Thanks for coming today, sir. My brigade commander from back then, Colonel Mike Snyder, is here. Colonel Snyder is the one who encouraged me to attend SAMS. More importantly, when our triplets were born extremely prematurely and we lost Abby Grace the following day, it was Colonel Snyder's wife, Susan, that was standing next to me in the chaplain before I walked into the delivery room. It was Colonel Snyder and Susan who insisted that my parents stay at their house. As I recall, they stayed there for something close to a week. Mike Moore is here too. Mike was my Brigade S3 that day when our big girls were born. Mike is the one who called Colonel Snyder and the chaplain. And he's also the one who told me my place of duty was the hospital. For 7 weeks, I sat beside our daughter's bed through the NICU. And even when I came back to work, it was initially only every other day for half a day, while things were still touch and go for our girls. For all the commanders and sergeants major here, when folks talk about being an engaged leader or genuinely caring about your paratroopers, Colonel Snyder and Mike Moore, that's who they're talking about. Gentlemen, it means more to me and Shelley than you'll ever know. My first sergeant. George Daniels is here. When you picture in your mind's eye what a first sergeant should be, it's First Sergeant Daniels. Me and a whole bunch of paratroopers from that battery became the very best versions of ourselves because of the leadership he modeled. George, thanks for participating in the ceremony today, and more importantly, for your lifelong friendship. One of my favorite things is now how, after all these years, we can just be JT and George. I appreciate you being here. Both my drivers from Battery Commander here, Rick Andrews and Ryan Love. Rick traveled in from Oklahoma, and Ryan came up from South Carolina. If you've heard me tell a story about the day we taught the battery how to reverse a 180, the reverse 180 at Humvee, Rick was the one who figured it out. If you ever heard me talk about a night we got ambushed in the vicinity of the Blood Market, it was Ryan Love who was my driver. I remain indebted to both of you for your service to me all those years ago. There's a great story about the night First Sergeant's vehicle got hit by an RPG. I was not in the vehicle, so I won't tell that story. But as I recall, Love was his driver, and you may want to ask him about that later. 4 of the lieutenants from that battery are here: Steve Bonds, Pat McKinney, Josh Howard, John Karcher. 2 of the smokes from that battery are here too: Gerard Farrell, Eric Stevenson. Thank you all so much for coming. On my uniform, I wear 5 ribbons that mean the most to me. They're not my 5 highest awards. Gentlemen, I wear the awards we earned together in honor of you. Being your commander remains a highlight of my life. Our battalion commander from back then, Pete Edmonds, and his wife Susie are here. From 2004 to 2006, 1321 was the best battalion on the street, and it wasn't even close. Paratroopers from that battalion went on to become leaders across the Army. Several went on to become first sergeants and sergeants major, a few of which are here today. The battalion also produced a number of battalion and brigade commanders, and 2 have gone on to become general officers. All of that is attributed to the culture created by Pete Edmonds. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When he spoke to the battalion, 400 paratroopers hung on every word he said. We all bought in, and in the process became the leaders he was developing us to be. Sir, tonight, when you lay down to go to sleep, you can rest easy knowing you did it right and you led well. Thanks to you for being here today. All of us old warriors are honored by your presence, and we all remain indebted to you. Dave Pasquale is here too. Dave and I made our bones together as majors in 2nd 319. Dave is peerless, the very best of us. Thanks for coming down from D.C. Also here from that battalion is Sergeant Major retired John Costa and his wife Judy. Johnny was my operations sergeant major when I was the S3. John also made those jump master statues I presented to my former senior NCOs. Dave Pasquale and John Costa are both airborne artillery legends. And Shelley and I sincerely appreciate y'all being here. Our dear friends Keith and Jennifer Collier and their children Davis and Mallory are here. We met the Colliers at church in 2010, and they've been best friends to us ever since. My brigade commander from when I was a battalion commander and former All-American 7 and 8. Brigadier General retired Mark O'Donnell and his wife Lauren are here. Came down from Pennsylvania. Sir, thank you so much for y'all to continue to be fantastic role models to Shelley and I. We love you. We really do. Vice Admiral Mitch Bradley and his wife Katie are here. I was the Deputy XO to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs when General Dunford, when Vice Admiral Bradley was a captain and he was the XO. There could not have been a better or more meaningful assignment after battalion command. Serving with you and Bronzy was a lesson in leadership every day. More specifically, your perpetually calm demeanor, regardless of the day's stress. And you may not remember this, but the day you talked to me about the difference between urgent important, and having a sense of timing remains perhaps the most useful lesson I've learned in the last 10 years. I know you're incredibly busy, and you and Katie making time to come over here is truly appreciated, sir. My departed Sergeant Major Miguel Quiros and his wife Jocelyn are here. Sergeant Major and Jocelyn traveled in from Texas yesterday. Miggy and Jocelyn be lifelong friends to Shelley and I cannot thank Sergeant Major enough for all he did for me. I know a bunch of NCOs and officers who would say the same thing. You're not going to believe this, but I assure you it's true. In the early 1990s, Sergeant Major Quiros, when he went to basic training, First Sergeant Daniels was his drill sergeant. That's true. That's the guy's honest truth. 1993, First Sergeant Daniels was staff sergeant. He was his drill sergeant. Miggy, thanks for participating in the ceremony today. It means the world. I mean this with every ounce of my being. Shelley and I are truly honored by all of your presence. Moreover, I cannot thank all of you enough for the impact you had on my life and career. I'm standing here because of all of you. A few months ago, I was at my first General Officer Education course, and they asked us where we're from. I, of course, responded Douglasville, Georgia, and everyone else responded with wherever they were from. The facilitator then said, "No, where are you from?" Then he told us to take a few minutes to think about the foundation that set us on our way and led us to sitting in that room. He then asked us again, "Where are you from?" To that I said, "I'm from two parents that both worked full-time to provide for me and my brothers and create opportunities for us to succeed. They established in us empathy, respect, discipline, responsibility, and toughness. Mama and Daddy married in 1970, then moved to Omaha because my dad was in the Air Force. That next year, Daddy went to Vietnam, and after that, they bought a Ford Pinto and set out to start their family. Through the 70s and the 90s, Mama and Daddy worked incredibly hard and raised three fine young men. My brothers and I are the men we are because of their example. I also said I'm from outside because one day my brothers were jackassing around the house and broke a portion of a porcelain doll our dad had brought back from Vietnam. And after that, we were not permitted to be in the house if our parents were not home. We all have a different perspective of that day. And because I'm the one with the microphone, I suppose my perspective is the one that matters. Lastly, I said I'm from the ball field. My true love growing up was baseball, and through that I learned about teamwork and perseverance. Where I'm from built in me a foundation that led me to the Army in North Georgia, environments where I felt like I was meant to be. Mama and Daddy have been married for 54 years. Sharing today with them means more to me than I can express. I love y'all. It was a Monday in October 1996 when I first met Shelley. I was standing next to the drill field in North Georgia waiting on a friend of mine, Bennett, who's here. Thomas Bennett's back there. I was waiting on him. Shelley walked by with a friend of hers on her way to dance practice. I was a junior, she was a freshman. Over the years, when I tell this story, I always say I was wearing starch BDUs, sleeves rolled, and spit shine boots, and Shelley never had a chance. Truth be told, it was me that never had a chance. I knew early on Shelley was different and we were meant to be. When it seemed like things were getting serious, I took the advice of Tombo Jones, who'd been my company commander my freshman year, and I was very candid with Shelley about who I am and what I wanted to do. Tombo had given me the advice a couple years before, and looking back on it, he was wise beyond his years. We're bummed he and Robin couldn't make it down from Virginia today. Shelley might have a slightly different memory of this conversation, but based on Tombo's advice, I told her I like an adult beverage every now and then. I like to chew tobacco, and I'm also in the Army, probably will be for life. If all that's cool with you, then let's go. She looked at me and simply said, "I'm good with all that." And for more than 25 years, Shelley's been my everything. Together, we've experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Over the years, we've uprooted our lives multiple times to move on to our next duty station, and together we experienced the impacts of the wars of Iraq and Afghanistan. Together, we raised three beautiful, intelligent, tough young ladies who we could not be more proud of. It's actually more accurate to say Shelley raised our three daughters, as I was frequently absent due to the demands of the profession. In fact, as Caroline likes to remind me, I was not even home when she was born in February 2006 while I was in Iraq. In addition to being smoking hot, Shelley's also the most selfless person I've ever known. She makes me better than I am on my own. I'm going to stop there before I'm unable to continue. You're my everything, Pum. Our daughters, Annalie, Emma, Kate, and Caroline, did not choose this life, but they have each thrived nonetheless. They don't like the word resilient because it's a bit overused, so I've been trying to think of a better word to describe the toughness each of them inherited from their mama. The word I landed on is grit. Like Shelley, they all have grit. Fittingly, the gift I gave them was a silver chain with a single pearl. A single pearl for a single star and a pearl, because like them, pearls are made from grit. Shelley's, on the other hand, has 5 pearls, because there's 5 of us, and she will always outrank me. Girls, I'm so incredibly proud to be your daddy, and I'm so incredibly proud of you. Thank you for going along with us on this ride you did not choose. I love you. For me, today is about all those people I just named. Because all of you poured yourself into me, I'm standing here today. Any congratulations lauded on me today should instead go to you. Today is your day. These stars are yours. I've tried to live a life of service that honors all that you gave me, and I hope today when you leave, you will proudly say, that's my husband, that's my dad, that's my son, that's my brother, that's my son-in-law, that's my nephew, that's my cousin, that's my friend. He played for me. We went to school together. We played ball together. He was my PL. He was my commander. Or simply, we served together. If that happens, it'll mean more to me than you'll ever know. If you'll indulge me for a few more seconds, I'd like to ask my aide, Lieutenant Austin Mays, to come over here real quick. Sergeant Beckham, if you'll come with him. There's orders and a certificate that goes along with this, but for the sake of time, I'll paraphrase. Austin oversaw the coordination and details that went into today's ceremony, and if any lieutenant ever truly earned their Army Achievement Medal, it was Austin. How about a resounding round of applause for Austin and everyone from the protocol team, the band, the guns, and the G3 who worked tirelessly to put this ceremony together. Thanks for everyone for attending today. Shelley and I are truly honored. We hope you can stay for a bit longer and join us at the reception. All the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of the All-American Soldier and remain standing for the Army Song. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please give Brigadier General Williams and his family a moment to reposition before congratulating him on his promotion. Each of you are cordially invited to attend the reception on the division patio to my left, your right, in honor of Brigadier General Williams. On behalf of General Williams and his family, thank you for attending today's ceremony all the way.